Hello and welcome to yet another cast. For you today I have a custom 5v5 played on the Neurox's map generator. This is 20k base as you can see here, zoomed in a bit so probably 15k, and yes, as I pointed out in a community post recently, it is a land map again because I have done a lot of naval heavy games recently, and well, I know that the opinions about naval games or naval focus and stuff like that are very, very mixed. Some people love it, some people hate it. I can understand both, to be honest. Though I am more part of the former group than of the latter, but you know. But I have made a decision that I would cast a more land-heavy game. But let's get into the player introductions. We have Team 1 up in the north, Team 2 down in the south, and let's introduce the players. And let's maybe slow it down because I did spend some time early on. Anyway, on the easternmost slot for Team 1, we have Nomander in green, going Aeon, opening first land. To the west of that, in yellow, going Seraphim and opening first land, we have Master of Seasons. Not Master of the Seasons, but just Master of Seasons. Anyway, to the west of that, in orange, going UEF, opening first air, we have SPCL in UEF. Then to the south of that, also going UEF in this grayish-green color. This dark grayish-green color. Still no idea what to call it. We have Han Solo, opening first land. Then to the south of that, in hot pink, we have Sin Ziggy, going Aeon, opening first land. Now, for Team 2, let's start on the westernmost position here. In cyan blue, or just cyan I guess, we have Windex, going UEF, opening first and second land. To the east of that, in lime green, going Seraphim, opening first land, we have Twitchy Mofo. Then to the east of that, in white, going Cypern and opening first land, we have BRS DCCC 97. I think I will just refer to them by BRS. Then to the north of that, in piss yellow, going Aeon, opening first land, we have Gamer9XXX. I will just refer to them by Gamer. And last but not least, to the north of that, in red, going Cypern, opening first land, we have Mutso. Right, that's pair introductions out of the way. Something else I want to point out, I did turn down volume of, well, sound effects and music a bit because someone pointed out in a comment somewhat recently that apparently it was a bit loud and stuff became hard to hear, or I became hard to hear, so I hope that fixes it a bit. I usually like having my music, the music a bit in the background because it fills some of the emptiness when I'm not talking. But yes, I hope it's not too quiet, I hope it's not too loud, and I hope that I can be well understood. I usually already turn down the game and boost myself in when editing the videos. Not that there's much editing, that's basically the only thing I do, but yeah. I hope this makes those issues slightly more, well, slightly better. If it even was an issue in the first place. But yes, ACUs moving forward, a lot of engineers expanding. Sinseki, for example, going out, a lot of engineers just grabbing a load of maxes, which I did not talk about. This slot has a shit ton of maxes. Overall, there are a lot of maxes on this map. Oh, I would have almost closed OBS. No, I actually wanted to open this, but yeah, full screen accidentally went off screen and clicked into my OBS window. Almost closing that. That could have gone horribly wrong. But we have around 8.2k reclaim left on the map. How much has been reclaimed? Around 2.2, so let's say we had around 10k reclaim on the map at the start. Decent amount. So So, well, it also looks like it was yeah, okay, we have a bunch of trees, bunch of rocks dotted around. You also have the civilian structures that can be reclaimed as well. That should be kept in mind, and those do not count on the reclaim count up here. But yeah, some plateaus overall very open map. And let's say, yeah, a lot of energies currently just coming out from most of the players. Not too surprising with this max count. But we have our first striker already out for Windex. I assume this might be a small raiding force. A Snoop assisted onto the tank to just keep that covered. And that will... Oh, never mind, the tank is moving in. That will probably pick up a kill on this engineer right here. Yes, that is taking fire now. It is building a Raptor, but I don't think that that will finish. No, it won't. And the engineer goes down, but there is already the ACU moving in, and it has started firing onto the tank. And there goes that. More tanks moving out, trying to get in the backline, trying to cause damage already. Already 4 factories out for Windex, all of them, by the looks of it, producing large amounts of spam, more factories being built up. So it looks like Windex utilizing the large number of maxes on this map to just quickly spam out a large force of T1 units. And just overwhelm their opponent right at the T1 stage before they can really react to it. No comparable amount of unit production out from Sensegi. Other thing to look at here is that Sensegi is only 1300 facing off against a 1900 in Windex. In return, Nomanda on the other side, 2k rated, up against a 1100 in Mutzel. Though it looks like Nomanda is not going for a build that is quite as aggressive as the one of Windex. Instead, Mutzel is actually going for more factories and more spam early on. So we will have to see how that develops throughout the game. Possibly, maybe we will see some early T2 or something like that coming out from Sensegi trying to utilize that mass, but right now it looks like just a bunch of max upgrades going into more eco, which is also valid under most circumstances. I would assume that they don't really expect the Zerg rush of T1 spam that is coming in from Windex. Who is still building more factories? 1 under construction, 2 more queued, never mind. 2 currently under construction, with already 6 on the field. All of them, by the looks of it, building primarily tanks, this one also building some energies. But yeah, that is maybe going to be a bit of an issue. And yes, still no comparable number of factories out for Sensegi. They instead are opting to get heavier eco, as already pointed out. We have Selene right here, is this? Yeah, it is cloaked, so it's completely invisible now not for anything that isn't an ACU, because it gets stealth and cloak. I think stealth is... stealth works basically always. For cloaking, the Selene needs to stand still for a specific period of time, and I'm pretty sure also it's not allowed to fire. So it is currently on hold fire. But this Selene, the only T1 unit, well, I think with the exception of the Cypern ACU and its upgrades, the only unit in the game that has access to both stealth and cloak. Like, Cypern ACUs and Zykus can get both of that as upgrades, but as a just normal mass-producible unit, pretty sure there's only this Selene that actually has access to both. Which also makes it very annoying to deal with, because it can just be placed right onto a max spot or something like that in that state. And since it's not detectable, it There's nothing that can be, it can't really be killed by anything because it can't be spotted. But at the same time, well, you still can't build on it because there's a unit on that space, blocking you from building. As you push out from Mutsu, up against some stuff of Nomander. Currently Nomander not with a lot of units, we do see a single Aurora, the ACU, and some scouts. But if Mutsu brings in the ACU, then that ACU is basically completely countered, and Mutsu has the advantage in terms of units, which would basically force Nomander to fall back. And okay, yeah, the ACU is now tangling a bit. But I don't think this will go too far. In the meantime, by the looks of it, almost missed that. Windex now starting a major push with that. Earlier mentioned just mass unit spam. Even more factories underway. And yes, that is a bit ridiculous already. But at this point, there's no way that Senseki can actually keep up with that kind of production. So in the long term, they will just be forced to fold because they really won't have anything to stand against that. There is no T2 upgrade underway. Maybe with the intention to use blazes or maybe even obsidians to counter that. Not too sure how successful that will be, but they can certainly try. They definitely need some stuff that has good crowd control capabilities. Senseki already pointing out that they are in not a good spot. I'm not gonna say that word because YouTube said that that is a bad word. And even though my videos are not monetized, I still would like them to not be disadvantaged in the algorithm. Let's see. Yep. That stuff continues pushing on. There are now a bunch of labs being spammed out by Senseki, probably just because labs are quickly built and, well, can quickly just fill out your line. And just relying on sheer numbers right here. Though, to be fair, the flare does deal a lot of damage, so it is probably, of all labs in the game, the best choice for something like that. This does not mean that I encourage going labs against the normal main against the normal main battle unit of any faction on T1. That just means that I think the flare is probably the least bad one in this situation, in this matchup. But yes, this is not looking too great for Senseki right now. They do have difficulties actually holding on to what they have. There are actually now making units. There are actually units that make it into the space of Han Solo now for Vindex. Also creating an opening for both Gamer and Twitch Mofo to start pushing in, which is very unfortunate for Han Solo. Gun speed now underway for Amanda. Gun range already finished. Gun upgrade for the Aeon, of course, split between the two arms, as I already pointed out so many times in casts, but yes, I think it's probably best if I have my explanations in basically every cast, because, well, there may always be players that are new to a game or unaware of mechanics and stuff like that. And I should not expect people to watch all my casts for stuff like that to be explained, so if they come here for stuff like that. And I think this way the content maybe becomes a bit more accessible to people less familiar with the game. But Master of Seasons now pushing out against Mutsu, supporting their teammate Amanda. Gun upgrade also coming out for Master of Seasons. Gun upgrade now underway for Han Solo as well. And SPCR, I was about to say pulling back, but no. SPCR is part of the Northern team, pushing out very aggressively actually. Gun upgrade now also come. Right, I already pointed out that Musso is going gun upgrade, I just remembered, yes. Okay. Bia is also pushing out, but for the north, where there isn't too much going on right now. There is, by the looks of it, a small run by attempted by Mutsu. That might get some damage down, but nothing major, I think. Let's see, how's it looking on this side. Sinsigi is still without upgrades. Windex now going for gun. And starting to get some frontline riders up. As well as even more factories. And even more factories. I guess I was completely correct when I made my comment about just the Sur crashing earlier. Just spamming out cheap disposable units. Trying to break the front line right here now against Sensegi. Though there is T1 PD right here and there is no T1 mobile RT in the mix. So there will be quite a few losses to that. As T1 RT is actually pretty decent at dealing with T1 tanks. Sensegi losing a lot of HP and taking a lot of fire from the T1 spam. Got a nice overcharge of right here, but, well, forced to pull back for now. One thing I have to note about the strategy, however, if we look at the economy situation, I don't see... Never mind, there is one T2 max, if I see that correctly, out for Windex. A single T2 max. They are completely sustaining this completely on T1 maxes. And the other thing, I'm pretty sure they don't have the eco to actually... Yeah, no. They are stalling half of their income. They don't have the eco to upgrade their maxes. And, well... They are now also starting to fall behind on eco overall, because, well... They are not up. They are basically just spending all of their economy onto more units instead of more economy or more eco. Which, well, in the short term will lead to great success, as you can see right here. They are making heavy gains against Sensegi, but in the long term it leads to an issue where you don't really have the capabilities to keep up with your opponent. Though Sensegi lost a lot of maxes right now and due to the major land pushes and also can't really keep up. So in that sense it does work. The problem I see right here, there are now pillars coming off Han Solo, so they have reached T2. Yep. They are now building T2 units and they have quite a few T2 maxes. Actually, they're also behind on compared to Windex. I guess it's just the sheer number of T1 maxes that Windex has right now, keeping them in the fight. But, well, overall in the long term, the team that puts more eco into actually, well, building up more eco, will probably have the upper hand if they manage to hold out against the mass push right here. The thing is, they are currently losing quite a bit of ground, so the strategy seems to pay off right now. Windex points out that someone should fall back because it's already 1v3. Right, yeah, there are currently 3 players dealing with Han Solo and Master of Seasons. Well, currently mostly Han Solo, because Master of Seasons doesn't have anything to... not Master of Seasons, Sensegi. Confuse the 2 players. For some reason. Because Sensegi does not have anything to really stand against Windex right now. So yes, Han Solo with that gun upgrade now starting to fire into the spam. Dealing some damage, but not in a great situation. Already a lot of maxes right here have died in this overall area. Big run by apparently now also coming out for a gamer against Master of Seasons, who does have Ishwas on the field now. Ishwas very, very powerful, with those two rather rapidly firing guns on each arm. Relatively short range, but also pretty high HP pool. Basically a tier 2.5 unit. And if I remember correctly, one of the few cases where mass for mass Ishwas actually trade better than T1 units. As usually, as you got higher on the tiers, mass for mass, it becomes less efficient, but your firepower becomes more dense and stuff like that. But it looks like Han Solo was able to mop up the remaining units of Windex for now, with that T2. There are a few stragglers remaining, but those are soon going to die as well. Now, second push is mounting, taking out the forward position of Sin Ziggy, or, well, taking out the remainders of that forward position. There's a control K of a factory, I think. And yeah. There's no actually T2 out for Windex, okay. So going for some tech at least. But they should probably also go into some investments on more max upgrades. And that seems to be what they are doing right now as well. At least on some maxes. Right, 10 minutes, let's maybe look how the air players are doing. And, well, T3 Air finished for BRS. With T3 Pigeon already finished. And same deal for SPCR. SPCR actually already building a ASF. Oh, okay, looks like... What is that? Is that... Yeah, okay, those are ASF as well. Wasn't too sure right now because all of the stuff flying overhead made it really hard for me to see, and also the white platform for the Cyberrun with the white coloring of BRS also a bit, well, a bit low contrast, so couldn't really see the wings there. But yeah, Gemini coming out for BRS, so both players now getting their ASF out. Next big land push. There are now asylums on the field for Force and Ziggy. Not too surprising since they have achieved T2 a while ago. Just like the places that are now on the field aren't really any big surprise. And Han Solo using that ACU, getting in some fire. Yeah, I don't think there will be anything too major going on that flank right now. Let's maybe look north, because, well, first off, a big fight for Master of Seasons against Mutsu. That ACU for Master of Seasons standing right in the center of Mutsu's units. That, but also having Gun, Nano, and I think that is normal regen aura. Let me just check that. I have a really hard time differentiating the two upgrade levels, but no. That is the normal restoration field. And you can see that has an effect on the units because they have a regen of, they have a base regen, a slight visual effect, like some slight yellow fog coming out of them, and also more HP than they are supposed to because the upgrade gives an HP buff. Overall, it keeps your units longer in the fight, and when they are out of the fight, they will also just, well, regen, actually heal back up to full health. They will technically also do that well in the fight, but usually still get out damaged, so the regen has a bit of a moot point then. But basically, it keeps you, it just makes units more survivable. There are quite a few blazes now coming in for Gamer to try and deal with that. But, well, that's a well-placed overcharge, I think. Never mind, only got one tank. Thought it could maybe get two, but never mind. However, this push looks very, very successful. There is T2 out for Mutsu, so we might see some rhinos coming to the front soon. They are already being built, rather slowly. There's also no PD emplacements being built up in that base. BR is also moving their commander up to the front to help out. And T2 units now making it to the front, back if we look back into the south, for Windex. So Windex now making the step up to T2 mass production. Well, okay, not quite mass production, I see 3 T2 factories right now, I think. Yep. Other than these strategic icons, which can sometimes be hard to see, T2 factories also have, instead of the one thing in the middle, or the one thingy here in the middle and the other two further down, there's T2 on the outside up and the one in the middle down. And the HQ, well, it also has this arch. So, yeah, some T2 production now. There is some flags, some parashields, and I think I also saw some MLLs earlier. Yep, some flapjacks. In the mix now for Windex, so it might change the current situation once again in favor of Windex. Now that they have been facing T2 for some time. Basically, base completely collapses for Mutsu in the meantime. T1 bombers for Nomad are also coming in, as well as a bunch of blazers. BRS utilizing the commander to help out. But the mass units of Master of Seasons with that commander, as well as the places of Nomander, will make it very hard to hold on to this position. There are a bunch of Cerberus turrets now in the area, as well as some autocannons. Or autoguns, not autocannons. But overall, most of the base of for Windex has died. There is a single T2 energy that might die very soon as well. And all of the spam factories, as well as a whole bunch of maxes, have died. However, there are now units starting to fire down onto the AC of Master of Seasons, in addition to the AC of Mutsu, and that was a very interesting overcharge. The overcharge basically to prevent it from missing because it's, well, super powerful, and missing it would be very annoying. Basically arcs in on the, homes in on the thing it's targeted at. Usually it's fired at a direct line so you don't see it, but sometimes you can see it arching, and I guess sometimes you can see it arching very far. If something goes horribly wrong. Yeah, there you could see a very slight arch on that, when that homed in on the blaze. Also, my reasoning for why it actually does that, I'm not too sure if that is the actual reasoning that I just realized. We have been watching this at -3 for the last 30 minutes. Please scream at me all you want in the comments, because I feel like an absolute moron right now. That's why things were moving this fucking slowly. Right here, I slowed down for introductions, and I completely forgot that I slowed the game down. Ugh, fuck me. So sorry about that. We just basically spent, we watched this at half speed right now for, yeah, basically half an hour. Oof. Well, let's actually watch it at normal speed for the remainder of this game. I already know that this will be so I guess the video will be a bit longer than I expected because I fucked up. It wouldn't be one of my casts if there wasn't something going on, if I didn't mess up in some way. Ziggy now going for some Oblivions, slowly creeping up to regain ground. Yeah, this is now actually moving at the speed I would basically expect it to move at. a lot faster. And no. Shots actually move at the speed. It looks really fast to me right now because I have the slowed down stuff currently in relation for that, but no. That is the speed at which stuff usually moves in this game. Yeah, this feels a bit more correctly paced. But yes, Senseki is still forced to fall back due to the sheer mass of human units for Windex. Down into the red, still taking more fire. Below 2k HP. Windex apparently just walking down the ACU below 1k. I think there's also, yep, there are triads. The ACU continues walking down, but does not continue targeting down the ACU of Senseki that went down below 100 HP if I saw that correctly. Now slowly regenerating back up, but that ACU is super, super low. In the meantime, Han Solo taking a bunch of fire from some Ushbas that have been built up by Twitchy Mofo, was also gaining some decent ground. Master of Seasons stopped pursuing the base of Mutsu and instead is now going after Gamer. I think they just assumed that Mutsu is out of the fight for a significant part of the game now, after losing that base, or most of the base. Nomanda also not really trying to go after that. They could maybe have built up some MMLs and started dealing with that, and never mind, there are actually Zappers now built up to deal with that, so I guess it would not have been an option. There are now Harbingers on the field for Gamer though, and those will shred basically any T1 and T2 units, because Harbingers are rather powerful. Master of Seasons now engaging those, getting a nice overcharge off, killing off the shield on one of the Harbingers. Gamer now is also starting to engage that with the ACU. But they do have gun speed and advanced range on it. Aeon have access to a special, to a second level to their gun range upgrade. Something that was originally part of the normal gun range upgrade, but basically was changed into a upgraded version of gun range because the normal Aeon Range Commander originally was considered to be too oppressive early game due to the insane range it gets. With this, it basically costs more to get the advanced range, but, well, or to get the higher range compared to the other gun upgrades, but you basically still have the same cost to be comparable to other gun commanders. But by looks of it, Master of Seasons currently pulling back. I was about to say there is actually a Loha missile launcher right here, but it has just been control-K'd and is being reclaimed. I suppose it is because Wunex realized that there are currently no valid targets to be hit with that aren't inside of Baskel range. The base of Senseki now completely gone. They instead are now just building up a position close to the airbase of SPCL. And we now also do see some sniper bots on the field for Twitchy Mofo, with some T3G generator, mobile sheet generators as well. So Han Solo needs to be very careful because sniper bots really, really good at dealing with, well, any kind of tanky unit. That includes ACUs. The sniper bots generally a very, very powerful unit. While they aren't very tanky, they have amazing range and, well, they are snipers. They also have amazing damage. Wait. That looks hover, is it? Oh yeah, that is actually... Not sure if it is considered hover. Never paid attention to that. Doesn't have the hover tag if you hover over it, so I assume it's not actually hover, but... Well... Yeah, I always thought it touched the ground, but no, I just realized that technically it hovers. As so many Seraphim units do. Interesting. Now let's go further west again. We do see Titans now on the field for Han Solo, and they are used to push Windex back. Or at least, well, used to attempt to push Windex back. But Windex, just with the sheer amount of firepower from the now also pillars, but T1 spam and the ACU, manages to take those out. But let's see, is there... Yes, there is actually T3 on the way for them. They are working on a T3 HQ. They think they cut down on their number of factories to be able to sustain some factories running at T2. How's their mass spending currently looking? Okay, they can afford that. Currently getting 121 income. And yeah, okay, that's not reclaim related. Bunch more factories now at T2. I would assume that maybe they should just go for some quick eco upgrades while they are ahead. Like, they currently have the numbers to keep their to hold their position for some time. They just, you know, hold on to that for a bit, just not pushing. Get up some more eco to allow more spam production. Now, big fight going on a bit further east. Between Twitchy Mofo, Master of Seasons and Han Solo. Han Solo, of course, with the Titans, Master of Seasons with that Nano and Regen Aura commander. And, well, there are now also some Othams on the field for Twitchy Mofo. And those might... Well, those generally will deal decently with Titans and Assaults. They don't deal too well with commanders because, well, especially if the commander has gun and overcharge, it will still shred even T3 units. Like, you should be a lot more careful, but you can at least one-on-one still deal with them. Snipebot taking some pot shots, dealing some damage against Master of Seasons. But right now it looks like that was going nowhere. Bunch of turrets now being built up by Han Solo. So just establishing a, I guess, semi-solid front line. Let's go look at the flank of Mutsu and Nomanda again. Both of them now with T3 on the field. At 22 minutes, this should not be a big surprise. Loyalists for Mutsu and Harbingers for Nomanda. Overall, also a lot of Vipers out for Mutsu. Those might be able to deal with any army that is actually just standing still and clumped up like this. Also really good at taking out shield generators. Like, not actually taking out the generators themselves, but just popping, just disabling the shields by dealing damage over long range. But there are now volcanoes coming up, and those do defend very well against Cyber missiles. The usual problem you have with Cyber missiles is that they do split up when damaged. That is not an issue when they are just redirected by the thingy that just died, by the Aeon Tactical Missile Defense Volcano. But that looked like, yep, there is some artillery fire, there are also trebuchets. And we have some Harbingers for Gay Mana pushing in as well. And with that, Nomanda is actually forced to continue to fall back even further. I really have to mute myself quite often right now because something is causing quite bad cough. Gunships now moving along the side right here in the west for BRS against SPCR by the looks of it. Let's just make a quick ASF count. We're looking at 56 for 56 for SPCR against 62, I think, for BRS. So BRS slightly ahead, and if SPCR wants to go for the gunships, then that will mean some very, very bad air turns for the airfight. Because, well, you either go for the gunships or you go for the ASF, which sometimes can be a rather hard choice. But going for the ASF might mean that the gunships get through, even if you do one air. Going for the gunships will mean you lose, you do destroy the gunships, but you're very likely to lose the airfight. And that is exactly what SPCR went for. And we do have a chicken, a Ythotha now out for Master of Seasons. First experimental of the game, I think. Let me just verify the statement. Certainly looks like it. Twitchy Morphle also going for a chicken. And I don't see anything like a Monkey Lord or stuff like that, so probably correct in the assumption that that was the first experimental of the game. JC also coming out for Nomanda now. And I think that is actually all experimentals currently under construction. Instead of continuing on with Dryads, it looks like Han Solo has decided to actually use Ravagers now. The Tier 3 point defense unique to the UEF. UEF as the total faction, of course, gets better toys to turtle with. Ravager, a very, very powerful unit. Significantly higher range than T2 PD, and also some incredible damage output. But very, very costly to construct. Right, bunch of Titans now pushing in against the army of Han Solo, which is now mostly comprised of Percivals. Percivals trade very, very well against Titans due to the higher HP pool and higher DPS, which does come at the cost of, well, a higher resource cost. And for the Percival also at the cost for a significantly slower fire rate, making it very bad against T1 units. But still decent enough against anything T2. But, well, looks like Titans, well, never mind, also Titans of SPCR. I was about to say the Titans that came in with orange were enough here, but no, those were actually not. A few more gunships come in, now targeting down the AC of Han Solo. If there's no air response, Han Solo will probably die here because there is not enough AA to actually take out the gunships, but there's the ASF response. A whole bunch of them do go down to the lightning tanks in the army of Tuchimofo, who is now also starting to push in. Right here, that's land production out of SPCR. So SPCR decided to help on land, seeing that their team isn't doing that well on this flank. But those units do quickly go down to the push of Tuchimofo now, with all of the Othams right here. And Othams and lightning tanks now do lock on to the AC of Han Solo, and there goes the ACU. SPCR just finished an experimental, it was a fat boy. And there goes the AC of Han Solo. In a big boom. The AC for Sensei also not looking too hot right now. Right in the line of fire, now also up against Percivals. As well as the Titans we already pointed out earlier. There was a nice overcharge, basically taking out one of the Percies. But, well, there is still more coming in. So currently, okay, I had that set to the right thing, just had to make sure that I wasn't muted throughout this. But yeah, currently the Sinsigi not in a great spot. A bunch of course airs come in, take that ACU down even further. And well, okay, there is however not much more coming in threatening that ACU, with the exception of the course airs. And there's currently no air response to deal with that. However, relief is coming in the form of a experimental push out from Master of Seasons against Windex with that chicken and the ACU. That does now have advanced nano and I think also the advanced region aura. That ACU very low and basically one more successful hit with those and it is dead, but just in time the Corsairs did get taken out. Chicken pushes in, devastating a bunch of units, getting a whole bunch of kills. And well, let's see. Yeah, okay, that's a bunch of T1 energies. Maybe not the most important target here. But it's about to go down to BD Fire and Percival's. There it goes. And Windex did see that and pull back in time. Now getting onto a transport, just moving back into their main base. How's the good thing stuff looking? Still with T1 maxes. Yeah, they are definitely falling behind on eco now after their early heavy investment into spam, so that is becoming very, very noticeable now. Though they do have a nice clump of reclaim right here now, if they can hold on to that. That would probably allow them to get up some very nice T2 or even T3 eco. Though a lot of their maxes are actually at T2, currently queued up for capping. And looks like currently, well, never mind, there's still this offensive going on, taking out more of the land factories. Most of these just, or well, not most of these, all of these just T1 for mass production of Lobos. You might think Lobos at this stage weird choice. Well, and I mean, you're somewhat correct, you would generally prefer to see higher tech units, but of all T1 units, T1 RT tends to do the best against the higher tier units due to the relatively high DPS that T1 RT has, as well as the high range. The one downside of that, of course, being the indirect fire of T1 RT, meaning that the shells are relatively easy to dodge. But especially at higher tiers, Mass T1 RT is easy to spam out, so it's a okayish decision or choice to just bolster your numbers. And especially when your opponent goes for Percivals and stuff like that, it becomes a very, very powerful choice because Percy would one-hit a Lobo, yes, but it will significantly overkill the Lobo, so it's a lot of wasted damage. But the fight continues. I think there are currently more T3 units in there for Master of Seasons, as well as of course the Region Aura on the ACU, so they will probably win this engage. Because of, well, the additional HP and Region on the units. Like there's 126 on Region on the siege tanks, or 100 and over 130 for some of these were veterancy. 120 as base Region just from that upgrade. However, there is a chicken coming in for not for Nomander, coming in for Twitchy Mofo, and Master of Seasons does not have anything to deal with that. That is used taking shit tons of damage, and even the advanced nano with its 52k HP was not enough to stand against a chicken. There goes Master of Seasons to the, well, basically to not being aware that there was an experimental out for Twitchy-Mofo, or an experimental coming in. A very deadly mistake to make. And it was the last mistake they made this game. Well, let's see. There is the fat boy out for SPCR. That is currently just putting back a bit. Another chicken for Twitchy-Mofo now pushing out. In conjunction with a sizable push of Harbingers. Some of these also very nicely vetted. Out for Gamer. Nice thing about Harbingers is that a not insignificant part of the HP pool on a Harbinger comes from its shield. So you have a higher likelihood that after an engage, the Harbingers still have basically full base HP, meaning that they will be strong for the next engage. So when they start vetting, like some of these, with like 2 ranks of veterancy and full HP, they become very, very potent because, well, you have the additional base HP just from the veterancy, and they are, yeah, also still full HP, so because they only lost their shield in the previous engagements. But due to the high presence of Harbingers, Nomanda are actually deciding to build up some of the shield disruptors of the Aeon. The Absolver, it's called, I think. Yeah, it's the Absolver. Also now with the GC, which is just, well, sucking up these Harbingers. Taking out a bunch of those. But yes, Absolver is actually really, really good at, against Harbingers because they will just one-hit the shield, making the Harbingers easier targets for the stuff that actually can damage anything that is the shield. Rex now also in the mix for Mutsu. Well, Absolver's not too great against Bricks, to be honest. The Brick is the Cypern counterpart to the Percival. The one major difference compared to the Percival, except for a slightly lower HP pool, is the fact that the Brick has a higher rate of fire. With a very similar amount of DPS, meaning that you are basically still as effective against the larger units, Titans, stuff like that, but they also become very effective against things like T1 and T2 spam, since the DPS is on a high rate of fire weapon, so you don't overkill as much. While you technically still kill your opponents just as fast. Also, wait, I'm not sure, was it lower HP or just lower DPS on the bricks? I can never remember. I know that the brick in a 1v1 lose against the Percival. That's 7.5k HP, the Percival is 7.2, right? I have to check this now. Here's the Percival. Yeah, it's actually, the Percival actually has lower HP, but I think overall DPS on the Percival might be higher. I think that's what it was. But again, the high rate of fire on the brick means that the brick still has higher versatility. And also means that it's more effective against lower HP targets. Chicken now for Nomanda pushing through this area. Basically taking out a bunch of energies right here, as there is no actual combat units in the area. And those Harbingers just running past the units of Nomanda and, well, causing some backline damage. Some of these with some serious amounts of mass killed. But that is gonna sting because those are T3 maxes going down. That is 27 mass per mass spot that is dying here. There's another GC under construction, but it is nowhere near finished. There is also now a emissary being started by Nomanda. Not sure if that is the play. But, well, yeah, okay, some of these Harbingers now have 5 ranks of veterancy. Do take a lot of fire from T2BD that was quickly thrown up, but some do actually end up going down. Stuff here had been reclaimed. How is the eco looking here? I'm curious. Well, okay, looks like Bundex actually managed to get some usable amounts of eco now up now. Basically, with some T3 maxes and a significant part of T2 max is now capped. Also now starting a push with the support of Twitchy Mofo and their chickens. There are now 2 of them on this on the field right here pushing in. Against a singular Fat Boy. The Fat Boy, that's very nice to see, actually using its mobile factory capabilities. Building, by the looks of it, some Cougars, the T3 anti-air of the UEF. It's very nice to see because since the mobile factories have been reworked, I really think that those are completely underused. Like in older versions, you had to stand still for the mobile factory to be used, so I understand why people didn't use it back then, but now you can use basically all mobile factories while on the move. Well, with the exception of the Maglev, but that is just due to the nature how Maglev unit building works. Since the Maglev is just literally building something that pops out the unit on the ground as a structure, so yeah, that can't move. But a bunch of team members try to be used against chickens, does not work. Ziggy goes down to the chickens and dies. That is generally what going down means, yes, I know. But yeah, back to the mobile factories. Basically, I think that since mobile factories can now produce while on the move, or well, not really now, they have been able to do that for some time now. That was not a new change. That is now a few months, maybe even a year back. Can't remember when that was changed. But yeah, I think, but it's nice to actually see that utilized because I don't think enough people are aware that that is a thing and use it because, well, again, it's super powerful. But Mass Ravager spam actually does end up taking out the chickens, as well as just Fatboy Fire. And that is just a rainstorm of Gatling cannons. SPCR builds a experimental, and that's actually a second Novak center already up. I completely missed the first one. There's also the emissaries, so Northern team trying to go for some standoff tech. I have made my opinion about the use of standoff tech in this kind of situation very well known in previous casts. Previous casts. Basically, when you're losing ground and the likelihood of you actually holding on to your standoff stuff is low, you're better off spending your units, your mass on units. Like, especially when you're losing ground. Spend your mass on units, because that way you might not lose ground. The standoff technology will not win you a game. Well, it might win you a game, but the thing that still ends a game is units. Or a team giving up, but if the enemy team does not give up, the thing that actually does end the game will be units. And if you are down on units compared to your opponent by a significant margin, or down on map control by a significant margin, you tend to just, well, the standoff technology won't change much about the outcome of the game in that case. Might even accelerate it because you spend some the mass that could have been used to build up more units to maybe regain map control and stuff like that on getting up some standoff technology that, well, yes, it will damage the infrastructure and economy of your opponent if you use it right. Still does not thin out the spam of your opponent. So just remember, when you are already on the back foot by to this degree where you're basically just down to 1/3 of the map, don't go for standoff technology. You should rather prioritize stuff to regain your ground and to hold on to territory. That does not mean that standoff technology doesn't have its uses, but it's generally when you are closer to a stalemate situation, or, well, when you are losing but you're losing very, very slowly and still have comparable unit numbers and stuff like that, and that the economic damage that you cause with it will basically allow you to shift the tides back in your favor. But that still relies on a similar or even higher degree of map control compared to your opponent. Right here, where you have this map split up with that is also being utilized with large numbers of maxes, it's not a good call. And I am aware that the players making these calls are significantly higher rated than I am. I'm still gonna say it, it's not a good call. I do hear chicken pushing. That's a monkey lord and a megalith. Where is the chicken pushing? And I just realized I'm also frantically scrolling again. Something I would like to try and avoid more and more, but, well, not always doing great at that. Well, there are two chickens right here. Maybe they have killed something. Another chicken here, so probably one of those. Or maybe not, maybe I'm missing something. That's a GC for a gamer pushing up against, well, GC and a sporting army for Nomander. Nomander also with some Rambo Zakus. The Aeon Rambo Zakus get a advanced shield with 40,000 HP, in addition to a base HP pool of 15k. And what's the gun upgrade? Well, by looks of it is a gun range upgrade, first and foremost. And AoE, right, it's range and AoE, interesting. And the reaction refractor. Yeah. Increases main cannon range and grants area of effect damage radius. Right, the other arm only gets the engineering upgrade and the sacrificial upgrade. Did not mean to slow down, I want to click onto observer so that I actually get, you know, back into the observer slot. Another unit I would like to see more frequently because it also feels a bit underused. Rambo Zakus, honestly. Because they are actually pretty good. Not only are they tanky as fuck, as you can see, they are also still basically a tier 3 engineer. They do start out with tier 3 engineering or tier 3 building capabilities, because, well, Zakus always are able to build tier 3. And also with 56 build power. Let's see, how much does the tier 3 engine have? I think it's... yeah, I think it's roughly 1.5 tier 3 engines in build power. Maybe a bit less, but overall still more than one tier 3 engine. So they are super tanky and can be utilized on the front line to great effect. SPC are joking about Titans being in a very bad position right now, just swarmed by everything. Indeed, it is a hell of T1 unit spam that those Titans have run into. Coincidentally, Titans very good at dealing with T1 unit spam. Just not with the Titan, with the supporting T3 unit spam of Windex. Because, well, Titans don't do well against other Titans. And especially not well against possibles. Though there are no longer any possibles in the area, but yeah, not too great of a position. There are now two chickens pushing in. And those might actually... those will probably break through because I don't see anything that has the capabilities of killing a chicken on the position. There are, well, there are some Revenant Strat Bombers, but it looks like those are going after the Fat Boy instead. The chicken on the other hand, well, or the chickens, they are taking Sunfire, but they are still very healthy. They will probably survive this. And looking over at my OBS window, yes, it has already been an hour of recording because of my slip up at the start. Well, I'm still sorry about that. Trust me, I'm a professional. Believe it or not, I have been doing this for over half a year now. But as I expected, those chickens just walk straight through the lines of Windex. They are now just going for mass Mech Marines. I guess just for the meme, Mech Marines split up very fast because, well, they are basically free. And, well, okay, no, they aren't free, but they are dirt cheap. And, well, let's see, how many land units do I actually control right now? Around 600, that is less than I would have expected. What unit cap is this played at? 1.5k, okay. You generally do see a lot of games played with 1.5 unit cap nowadays because, well, the standard is 1k, but that has become very restrictive with PCs just becoming better and players becoming more confident with the idea of building more units. And with PCs actually becoming better and not slowing down as much, as well as an increase in optimization. The increased 1.5k unit cap that you get with FAV actually becomes pretty usable. And generally also playable. But one of the chickens does end up going down to porcelains. However, there is the second one that also ends up going down. And that is artillery fire. Right, there are two disruptors in the main base of BRS. In the other tier 3 arty, there is a hoverfam artillery installation out for Tujimofo with a second currently under construction. And I think that's all the tier 3 artillery installations that are currently on the map, yes. But that artillery is firing onto the base of SPCR, unsurprisingly, trying to deal with the Novak centers. And shields are failing in the area now. But yeah, going back to the whole thing, unit cap. The base game originally had a maximum unit cap of 1k, the standard for FAV nowadays. Or well, the preset standard on FAV. As already pointed out earlier, you generally do see a lot of players now hosting with 1.5k unit cap. Because it's just playable now. But yeah, with the standard on base game being 500, which is super restrictive. Small run by up here in the northeast out from Gamer and Mutso, but that gets annihilated just by a shit ton, by a absolute fucking shit ton of Oblivion turrets. And the emissary has finished and is firing happily into something. Can I see what that is targeted at? No, I can't. That is flying and flying and flying. It's probably going after the air grid right here. And considering the fact that it looks like both emissaries, both disruptors went down, and that the Novaxes were focused here as well, I suppose it was probably targeted onto this area, onto the base of BRS. But second half of them just finished. So there is still a significant amount of artillery fire going down onto the base of SPCR. But BRS is currently still collecting a sizable force of revenants. So you might see a strat snipe or Corsair snipe, looking at the number of Corsairs right here. But the artillery still seem to be able to break through the shielding on the base of SPCR. And there are now two chickens with the support of a Harbinger army pushing in. And with that base is basically completely doomed, because those chickens will completely crush the shields. As any shield generator will struggle with any kind of direct fire, due to the, well, high rate of fire you usually have on all direct fire units. Shield's very bad at dealing with continuous fire, because shields have a cooldown between taking damage and regenerating their health bar, their shield health. I think it varies from shield to shield how long that time is. But that means that any shield under continuous fire will not regen, no matter how high the shield regen is. And also under continuous fire, even something like 25 or, well, not 25k is a lot, but 17k HP is also gone rather quickly, especially when you're under fire from experimentals, like a chicken. But 3 of the Novak centers already went down. There goes the 4th one. There are still 4 more, with a 5th one already under construction. But currently only 2 satellites over the base of Twitchy-Mofo. Though it looks like a lot of shielding here has actually collapsed, I guess also due to artillery fire coming in as well. And an interesting strategy employed by Windex. I don't hate it. It's very interesting here, does not mean bad. Windex basically utilizing a large number of parashields. Let's look at this, 40 of them. Just to provide some additional shielding onto the area. And while Parashield only has 3000 HP, and shield layering makes them still means that they will take a lot of damage due to the way shield layering works, that is still additional HP with mobile shields that, well, that will still block some Novax damage. Also, to explain how shield layering works, because I think it's one of the mechanics that's not that some players, especially new players, might not be too aware of. Basically, any damage that hits a shield will be will just be transferred down to lower shields at a reduced value. So the first shield will take full damage, unsurprisingly. The first shield, basically the second shield right below that, with shield layering, how exactly that is chosen or determined that the shield is directly below it, not too sure, but basically the second shield will take half damage, I think, and the shield below that will take half of that damage again. So with that, you have diminishing returns for layering shields, which becomes significant, which becomes very significant at this number of shields. With, well, 40 shield generators, even if they only have 3k shield. The one problem I see right here is, if you look at the shield HPs on those parashields, they do indeed take a lot of damage just from that shield layering effect. A lot of them already going out because, well, they are just getting overpowered by the damage coming in from the Novax and the artillery. Because Novaxes deal a lot of damage. Good tally. Oh, Mutsu apparently tried to telemacer against Nomander, who was very well prepared for that. Amanda making fun of that for a good tally, but yes, no. That was the worst place for a attempted tally snipe, because there's a lot of point defense in the area right here that just completely annihilates anything coming in. That number of turrets will usually take out most things. Now the main base of ACR not looking too great, still taking a lot of artillery fire. That looks like there are also disruptors back on the field. A shit ton of Lobos now also just streaming in from the factories. And that is a lot of factories. I did not pay attention to that, but... well, Windex went back to the just swarming tactics that they employed right at the start, and went for mass T1 factories to spam out Lobos. Now there are a bunch of Eruptors causing some pretty decent damage, as well as a few Oblivion turrets. Those being, well, they do outrange the Lobos, but the problem you have with that is that Oblivions are a more alpha-focused turrets, so they will just completely overkill Lobos due to the low HP pool on those. But the Ravagers that are also being employed are probably doing a better job there. Not that they are anywhere near sufficient looking at the number of just Lobos coming in. The two fat boys might actually be better help right now. Also, I just realized Novax actually all went down now. And yeah, one of the Haberfam did survive. The second one is being rebuilt. One of the Disruptors got rebuilt. The second one is also currently underway. However, I don't see SPCR holding onto this because they are just collapsing. Apparently BRS went for Control K, not too sure what that was about. Honestly, I don't think it has much to do with just overwhelming APM now at this point, because I'm pretty sure I also just don't have anything to really respond to this anymore. Because, well, how many factories are this? Or do we have here? We have 112 factories, well no, more than 112 factories. Just spamming out units. I mean, yeah, Cyclone PD would have been better in this case, but honestly, I don't think it would have changed too much here. Like, at this point the game was already decided, let's be real. But yeah, in the end, SPCR also went down, and I completely missed Nomanda dying. And yeah, unsurprisingly, the game ended in favor of the Southern team, Team 2. Right, as you can probably see with the chat currently, this was streamed live on Twitch, link to that will be down in the description, as per always. Again, sorry about accidentally having the game on half speed for the first, like, 15 minutes in-game, or first 30 minutes of this video. That was a massive fuck-up from my part. But yeah, still, if you still did enjoy this, maybe leave a like, or don't, I can't force you. And if you want to be notified when more videos like these do come out, and usually the games are watched at full speed throughout the entire game. Yeah, I'm aware. You can also just subscribe, because, well, as YouTube, it's free, and there are generally weekly casts coming out. Already, little sneaky preview for the next one. It's gonna be a 8v8 on adaptive settings that was sent to me by Pi. Very interesting, very weird. Definitely gonna get casted. But I didn't want to cast it for this one because, well, I promised on the community page that I would go for more of a land-heavy game, as I pointed out at the start. And Satins tends to be very naval-heavy. And that game was, so... yeah. I went for this one instead. Still, hope you enjoyed, hope to see you again in a future cast, and till then, bye!